What up, what up? This is the boy Bric Chicago. I'm a Shot-Town celebrity shout-out artist. You can hear my name mentioned on songs from celebrity artists such as Beyonce Knowles, Riri, Young Jeezy, T.I., David Banner, the UK pop group The Wanted. Um, huge, huge range of artists. You name it, they more or less gave me a shout out, in which I am tremendously thankful for, and I appreciate that. That's a whole lot of love. I'm on here to speak about something called materialistic reality, photogenic materialistic reality. It's just a little point of view of mine, and I just wanted to share it with you all, so maybe you all could like incorporate it inside of your scrutiny and see how does it work for you or how does it feel to you all as a conceptual thought. So basically, going on to look at it, something like um, a question like this is how I got started on it. It's like a question to look at the question like where did God come from? You know, like where did God come from? Because in the Bible it say God is, was, and always will be. You know, it's like did God created everything, so did God create Himself? You know, so I'm going. The Bible doesn't say that He created Himself, and it didn't say something like, well, yeah, God formed from a magnetic attraction of positive energy, and it became interactive as a mind, and then transformed into a cardinal being, and life is this great, great class of putting all of that together and going from there. So the Bible didn't say that about God, but it said God is, was, and always will be. So looking at the Bible from Genesis to Revelations, you know how the Bible spoke about reality and some things that's supposed to go on from Genesis to Revelations. All of those different things. So I have that in respect, and also the Bible said don't idolize it and different things like that, and just the ordinary kaleidoscopic normality of wondering or just thinking, what if all of these things wasn't true in the Bible? And I say that, and I don't say that spitefully. I mean, I'm not saying that like in a bad way, in a haughty way. I'm just saying, I mean, psychologically, maybe it isn't so abnormal just to at least think about what would you think if it was totally untrue and we just didn't know some of those esoteric things, right? So like where would you begin to find like salvation and try to possibly find out who a most high was, what he was, or what could he been, right? What could he be, right? So I came up with something called photogenic materialistic reality. And that's like if, say for instance, if life was photogenically materialistic, that means before life it was nothing, right? And before the person who created life, it was nothing, right? So in order to, and you know, life is full of realistic things, materialistic things as far as matter, you know. These are all concepts when you deal with the realm of thought. You know, everything is basically a thought. So you have like photogenic reality of life. So if you look at like maybe a person, or if you look at the person who created life, so you have like the spiritual, you have a spiritual side of a human being. If you look at human beings, you have the spiritual side of human beings, and then you have the cardinal side of human beings. So if you look at any being, you so pretty much other than like an animal, you'd either be a spiritual being or a cardinal being in between a human and an animal. If you're supposed to be some type of beast or monster or a mutant being, which would be considered an alien, I mean, just how many beings could it be? What kind of being? How many kinds of beings could it be? You know, so right, either some type of pestilence from a human to like some type of animal derivative, right? So, or either right, you're like a mutant between them, you know, a mutant between them. Other than that, nothing. You're nothing. You could be nothing so phenomenal that you didn't categorize as cardinal or spiritual as a being. So it's not real complex. So if you look at the Bible says God was a spiritual being, basically an etheric being, right? So just thinking of an etheric being with non-cardinal reality, think of things like man scheme things like eat food or taste buds or just cardinal apathy. You know what I'm saying? Which would involve the chemistry of having a spirit and a cardinal reality. So if God was a spiritual being, and then you have like the New Testament that says that prophets of the New Testament said that God is man basically, and what he done we could do and even greater through the lights of God. And like the prophet said, he was the most high and the most high was him. They were one. All these things. And right before you get stagnant, because this is where a lot of people take a pause after reading that whole Bible, and then you leaving off at the New Testament, going on to Revelations, and all you can think about is the New Testament, quote unquote, being a little excited about information about the Creator. That's why you even read the book. It's this aspect, though. If you really follow the prophet well, he's saying, like, if he was God and we were all, and he was the Father and the Father was him, and the works the Father done, we can do an even greater, and the works he done, we could do an even greater. This is sharing a oneness with the Most High, which who we will consider was God, right? So it's even in the Old Testament when they speak of like God blew his breath into man and man became a living being, right? It sort of makes you wonder was God his breath, so like the spirit of man is God, is what was considered to be God, right? As far as the New Testament. And the Old Testament, it's pretty hinting. It has a hintful nature. It has a hint about it in such a way. It has a hintful persuasion. But, you'd always really want the real answer to that. But the New Testament says the very same thing. So going back to what stagnates right here is going on from that to be like, okay, if that's how it is, and then see things begin to become more scientific on that note, then it's like, so if that's the case, then you have a world full of men, women, and animals, right? So if God shared all this oneness with everybody here, and I say these things, just be careful for you feel like, oh, I got it all. It's all scrutiny. You should want to scrutinize it and super question it, and just make sure you don't up the, move too swift with anything you thought you understood or thought made super sense. Just take your time with it. If you believe in anything, I'm not like asking you to abandon anything you believe in, or I'm not trying to persuade you to believe in anything right now. I'm just like breezing this past you, breezing this on you, and you could think about it. So you got something like, it comes out to like, if we all are going to be God, and you look at woman, and you go from the Old Testament, God blew his breath in, and man became a living being, and then a woman was made for man as a companion, like food, to attend his agenda. So a woman is a part of his agenda, but a being to share, vital majesty with him. You know what I'm saying? So you have you have a man, you have a female, and then you have these animals that the Bible said God created. So all of these are going to be basically realistically God, and it's like all some great expression and like some poetic reality. You just have to think about it. If that's all the real scheme, and this is really how everything sits, and that's real interesting. But you'd have to understand further. Because when you go to that, so it's like you'll say so. So each man is to get a female, and we're all to be here on Earth in this solar system, and what's the scheme of it to be that we were all sharing oneness with God? What is it? And when you go there, it's like, okay, so if we're all sharing oneness, all right, here's where all the things start. You have things like evolution. So evolution, which is like men evolving from animals, which is rather unconceptual to photogenic reality. So, looking at it like photogenically materialistic, you had this one man who created it all. So, and it was all a thought based on the creativity of the scheme of things that he was to make up. And you'll approach something called electronic temperament. You have like equipment, cultivational equipment that could be used to keep humans healthy. It's a medical scheme. It's like a medical world scheme. It's like a plant in a conservatory. You couldn't say a human couldn't be healthy at all times. You know what I'm saying? It's like a leaf, an autumn leaf being further cultivated to not wither to not wither away. Start changing colors. I mean, it'll just go through a photosynthesis as a plant, right? And the leaves they won't, go through some hypothetical dissolving because of electromagnetic energy, and magnetic energy is, unextinguishable. You can't like it's unextinguishing. You can't extinguish it basically. You can't unmagnetize magnetic energy, and human vital reality is magnetic, electromagnetic energy, and it's intelligent when you have like speeds of energy that make sounds, and it's like even if